Hi, my name's Andy Tidy and welcome back to another edition of Canal Hunter. This is the second of two videos in which I'm exploring the Wyrley Bank Branch. And that is the abandoned section of canal that runs from Sneyd Junction up through 5 locks and then out for about 3.5 miles to Great Wyrley, or Cheslin Hay as you might know it better. In the last episode we looked at Sneyd, its basins, its arms, its reservoir and the Essington Locks branch. Well, now I've come slightly north of that, just beyond the railway, and we're heading out towards the end of what was the original Wyrley and Essington mainline canal. So the section you see behind me was built in 1798, and it was the main line of the canal reaching out to the new Cannock coalfields. It's 503 feet up. That's just 7 feet short of the current record height for the BCN at Titford. So we're very high up on a plateau without much water. So this was always going to be a bit of a challenging end of the canal. They use steam streams, they use pumping engines from lower down, and of course they pump water out of the mines, and that went to keep the canal topped up as well. So in this episode we're going to first of all carry on to the end of the original Wyrley and Essington mainline canal, and that's at the Cannock Collieries. From there we will move on through the next 2 phases of construction all the way to Great Wyrley. Now we've got a lot of ground to cover. It's on a cycle route, so this will be a lot of panning along as we go along the canal and looking at the remaining bridges. Not so much on the history, but I'll insert all the old pictures that I can find as we go. So I hope you enjoy this second phase. We really have now broken free from the urban sprawl of the West Midlands conurbation, and we're now out into the countryside. So this is a really nice area as we head out towards Cannock. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Come with me, follow my way north. If you follow in my footsteps, this is an area for your bike. Maybe a mile or so up the canal from the top of Sneyd Locks, you come to a bend of the canal that goes between 2 railway bridges. It's got water in it, it's very pretty, it's a nice footpath. But you can also see out behind me there is a basin, and this was a basin for the Spring Hill Colliery. The Spring Hill Colliery stretched out beyond where the railway line now exists. That used to be a mineral line back in the day. You can still see the mineral line shown on the maps from about 1900. Anyway, time to press on and reach the end of what was the original Wyrley and Essington main line. Now I have to admit that when I first explored the Wyrley Bank Branch, this location really confused me. I'd reached a point about 2.2 miles up the canal. It had returned to water, and suddenly, alongside the railway, there was the most incredible kink. There was like a double dog's leg or a chicane. I couldn't really make head and a tail of it. I could tell that there used to be a basin branching off to the right, but that was about it. What I didn't know then, but I do know now, is that this was the terminus of the original 1798 Wyrley and Essington Canal. This was the point where the canal reached the coal fields that it needed. And just off to the right, there was an arm and a twin-end basin, and that served the collieries of the area. In this case, it was the Cannock Lodge Pit, just one of the several pit heads that led into the same underground coal mine. And the coal from that pit head and other local ones all came down to this location on a series of tramways, and there they loaded the boats up and they dragged the coal back through the locks all the way to a market in Wolverhampton. What's not terribly apparent from this is the amazing proximity of this location to Lord Hayes Canal, which will be the next one that we explore. This one came north from Sneyd, and if you go beyond Bloxwich, Lord Hayes curves around the back behind what is now Bloxwich Golf Course, another colliery of course. And the terminus of the Lord Hayes branch was literally a matter of a couple of 100 yards behind the terminus of this, the original destination for the Wyrley and Essington. I'm guessing that this area around Landywood wasn't terribly successful, because by 1829, just 30 years later, this section of the canal had been abandoned. But they then discovered more coal out at Great Wyrley. So the line of the canal was opened up again and extended again until finally it reached the collieries of Great Wyrley. So let's carry on off to the north. We know we've come 2.2 miles up. The canal is about 3.5 miles long, so we're little more than 1 mile from our ultimate destination. However, slight spoiler alert, as we go along, we're now entering an area which suffered massive open cast coal mining back in the 1980s. Now, I know that the line of the canal has been protected, so it does actually follow its exact line. But the surroundings, if you look on the side-by-side maps of the surrounding meadows and the fields, you'll find that most of the boundaries have changed quite radically. So anyhow, with that caveat, because I know a lot of you follow me on the side-by-side maps, extending these videos from 20 minutes to something more like 40, that's why you could get a little bit confused about where Andy actually is at the moment. So, we go north and we go to find out the remainder of the Wyrley Bank Branch Canal. This is the more northerly of the railway bridges. And as you can see, this was built for the horse traffic. It's what you have here are the old rollers used to protect the corners of the bridge from the tow lines. So the horses would have come through here, dragging the lines around a sharp corner behind them. The ropes would trundle around the rollers until eventually the loaded rope came around the corner behind, and then they set out around the other side of what is an amazingly sharp chicane. After a good long stretch of canal in water, used to be deep and full of perch according to the local fishermen, we get to Long Lane, and here the bridge has been removed, and we've got to do a little bit of mountaineering to get me and the bike over the top. So I'll take a break here, catch you on the other side. We're now coming up on Baker Bridge. It's very hard to tell whether we're looking at an overfull canal here or if the canal has simply subsided into the old mines beneath. Either way, there's plenty of water up here. The towpath is well made, and even after a long period of wet weather, it's still pretty dry and good to ride. We've arrived at the Strawberry Lane crossing, and it's another bridge that's been taken out, but at this point the line of the canal branched off to the right, and this is the site of Landywood Wharf. Landywood village is about half a mile beyond. Now, I don't know this for absolutely sure, but I think it's very likely that this was the destination for the 1799 extension, the one that was used for a while and then abandoned. The final section beyond Strawberry Lane, well, that's hitting deep again into open cast territory. So we'll go up there and have a look. We're probably now maybe half a mile from our destination. You can see that up here, beyond Landywood Wharf, the whole aspect has changed. From being closed in behind the trees, we're now into open area, and this regraded section was all courtesy of the remedial work done after the 1980s open cast mining. Now, when I came through here originally, I figured that the drainage ditch had been just haphazardly sited across the area, but if you follow the side-by-side maps, you'll find that the line that I'm looking at to my left is the exact line of the original Wyrley Bank Branch Canal. We're now looking at the extension built up here in the mid-1800s, and this was the final stretch of this abandoned canal to be built. It lasted for about 100 years before it was finally abandoned in the 1950s. Now, the canal was built to serve coal wharves and the collieries, and this site in here, it's just kind of a bit of an inlet of wild trees, is actually the entrance into Gilpin's Wharf. And Gilpin's Wharf was linked via a series of tramways up to the various collieries in the Great Wyrley area. Now, fortunately, we do have some pictures of the Gilpin's Works and its crossover bridge. And what appears to be a mining settlement lake ahead is actually marked up on the map as a winding point. Now, it's no longer triangular, but it is a true reflection of where the winding point used to be, so that the boats could turn back, load it up and head away to their markets. And now we press on beyond the open cast mining field, and on our last leg of this exploration through to Great Wyrley. So we're standing in the line of the canal that was built in 1857 to reach additional new coal fields right up near Great Wyrley. The line of the canal is still apparent, and if you have a bit of a look through in the roots of the trees, you can even find the classic brick wall construction which was much favoured by the BCN. Now the construction, or should I say the reconstruction of the section through to Landywood, and then the new section I'm now standing in, built in 1857, was actually built after the merger between the Wyrley and Essington and the Birmingham Canal, which formed the Birmingham Canal Navigations. So no doubt the BCN decided to build this section according to its normal standards, and that is they build them with brick walls on either side and a full working depth of about 4 feet. Now this section up here didn't die with a whimper. This section ended very abruptly and ended with a breach, and with a bit of luck, up beyond that bridge you can see, we'll find the area where the breach occurred. So here at this bridge, the footpath or the towpath is interrupted, and it's here there's a ditch running underneath, an old culvert, and this is the area where the culvert collapsed, causing this northernmost tip of the old BCN network to discharge its waters out into the meadows below. But we're not at the end yet. More hunting to be done. This is the last hurrah of the built remains up here near Great Wyrley. This is the water channel which narrowed the canal down and allowed a lift bridge to be inserted. At some point it was recreated as a high up and over bridge, as a footbridge, but you can still see the brig edgings, you can still see the stop planks, slots. And after a period of rain, the water channel continues. And so we come to the end of our exploration of the Wyrley Bank Branch. We're now about 3.5 miles up the hill from Sneyd, and well, we've covered a lot of ground and a lot of our first foray into the Cannock coalfield. I guarantee it won't be the last. From here on, most of our abandoned canals were built to tap into the Cannock coalfield. So, I hope you've enjoyed this quite extended cycling episode of Canal Hunter. On our next episode we'll be zipping around the far side of Bloxwich, and we'll be looking at the Lord Hayes branch, which paradoxically ends up just a couple of 100 yards from the end of this canal. So if I fired a shotgun here, you'd hear it at the end of the Lord Hayes branch. but I don't have a shotgun, so I guess I'll have to go out on foot and see what we can see. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you soon. Happy hunting.